Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. I guess I will start off this video by introducing myself in case you've never watched one of my videos. Hi, my name is Abby, 25 years old, and that's basically all there is to know. Just for like a bit of comfort, because it's going to be a little bit of a weird video to film and to talk about. I have my onesie on, I have a cup of coffee, it's decaf because it's 9 o'clock at night, but there's no Zero Weight Watcher Point hot chocolate, otherwise I would totally be drinking that, but all I have is coffee. I have a big blanket, and I just wanted to sit down, because it's more of a serious, well it is a serious video, it's not more of a serious video, it's a very serious video. Figured that I would make it as comfortable as possible. I spoke about possibly making this video in a previous video that I did. I suggested it as being a possible video that I wanted to do in the future, and tonight just seems like a decent night to do it. I'm completely home alone, so I won't feel like weird talking about it or anything. Just so there's no like interruptions during the video unless my cat comes in, because that's definitely a possibility. She does that a lot. I felt comfortable, I felt confident in talking about it, so I am. I am going to be looking at my phone a little bit. I do have notes just because there's certain points that I wanted to make sure that I hit. Certain stories that I wanted to talk about, things that, you know, I've been planning this video for a little while now, so I've been writing things down as I remembered them. So I guess I should put out now verbally just a little trigger warning that there's going to be talks about suicide and sexual abuse and emotional abuse. Clearly from the title you see that it's an abuse story. So yeah, if any of that makes you uncomfortable, I'd suggest clicking off the video. If not, if you want to hear my story, keep watching. So I haven't talked about it tons on my YouTube channel, haven't talked about it tons with a lot of people in general, but from the age of 13 to 17, I was in an extremely manipulative, emotionally abusive relationship. There was times when it was physical, and like I mentioned earlier, times where there was sexual abuse. So I kind of wanted to tell my story and get it out there. I was inspired by Mandy V on YouTube. She told her story, well, one of her stories actually, about an abusive relationship she was in when she was younger. I'll link her video down below in case you guys want to go watch that. Not really how I got inspired, because it's not like I was like, wow, what an amazing story, let me tell mine. No, it was more like, I've been through that. I find it useful watching her video, maybe someone will find it useful to watch mine. I guess I should start at the beginning. Anybody who knows me in real life will know this person because of this story. However, throughout the story, I'm going to call him Luke. I've never known a Luke. Actually, I kissed a Luke in grade 2, so that's a lie. Because of Luke, and because of a couple of other guys I've dated since then, I've realized I have a type. I used to think my type was boys in bands, especially drummers. I went after a few drummers, but I kind of realized that my type is people with like family issues, like mommy and daddy issues. Wow, that was really dark. Let's start at the beginning. Luke and I met when we were kids, actually. We went to the same elementary school for a couple of years. Anyways, he moved away. I kind of forgot about him, and then fast forward to when I was probably, I think, 12, I kind of realized that he existed again because a couple of my friends hung out with him. He also went to these dances that my town held. Like, I don't really know why they happened, but at a local school, they would have, every Friday night, they would have these dances where we would pay, we would go in. They were like a video dance. So it was like, I don't know, we thought it was super cool to go to. Also, that was where we would go to like meet boys and get boyfriends when you're 12 and 13, like where else are you gonna go? So we met each other again through that. We didn't really talk or anything. I actually dated his cousin for like a weekend. That sounds so weird, like we dated for a weekend, but like we dated for a weekend. We were boyfriend and girlfriend for a weekend. And from that, like, he started talking to my friends and we started talking to him, and like I was talking to all of his friends. And then we all started hanging out together as groups. We would go to the mall. We would go swimming at like our local like sports center. We would go swimming all the time actually. And I don't really know how it happened, but when I was 13, we eventually started dating. It's so weird to say like when you're 13 that you were dating, or like that when I was 13 I was dating, but I was like, it was considered like a serious relationship, I guess, at least for a 13-year-old, because I was like 13 and stupid. I was like, I love him, like I was in love, even after like, I don't know, a couple of weeks of dating each other, you know, having each other in our MSN names. Like, oh my, that's so cringy. I hate that. Which is now a thing on Discord apparently, by the way. If you don't know what Discord is, it's like a, I don't know, like a text and chat app kind of thing where you can have like a whole server full of like hundreds of people and they all talk. And now on Discord, if you're dating, you put the other person's name and your name, and it's very 2006 MSN. It's very strange. You know, things were going good. We would hang out occasionally. Like, we'd go to the mall, we would go swimming, like I said. A lot of the time, the way we would hang out, and this is like throughout our entire relationship, which is kind of weird, we would go and hang out at like the park near my house. There's 2 parks near my house actually that we would go hang out at, like me and him and a couple of our friends. Just, I don't know if we all thought it was too awkward just to hang out alone, or we were like, we're 13, we're not ready for that. But we did like always hang out at the park. After a while, we started getting into like stupid little arguments, which, I mean, what can 13-year-olds really argue about in a relationship? I don't know, but I do remember we used to argue about like stupid little things. We ended up breaking up after a few months because he thought that I was flirting with someone else. We went to like a fair at my elementary school, and when he left, this one guy that I knew, because I think he was dating my friend's sister at the time, came up and started talking to me. Meanwhile, he was 17. Like, this boy that I was talking to was 17. Luke freaked out and said that I was like flirting with him, that I was cheating on him, and so I broke up with him. Spent a few months broken up, dated other people. I think he dated other people. And then we got back together, and this was our pattern for years. Was that we would break up, get back together, break up, get back together, break up, get back together. That's not what the toxic part of the, well, that is part of the toxic part of the relationship, but that's not really what the story's about. Yeah, like we would always date people in between. He would always date my friends, which was really weird to me. Like, he would always go after people who I was friends with. I kind of like went into different circles. You know, I'd date somebody over here, date somebody over there. It's not like I went to his best friends and I was like, you. But then again, I did like have a thing with brothers and 2 sets of cousins, and yeah, so I guess maybe I wasn't the most innocent in that situation either, but I didn't go after friends. So when I got to high school, you know, I don't know what it was like when you guys were in high school, or if you're still in high school. At least where I lived, like, we're very casual daters in high school here. We would like date somebody for a little while, we'd break up, date somebody else for a little while, break up, date somebody else for a little while, break up. But I would always go back to him after a few months. And this is kind of when like the toxicity of the relationship started to show through, was probably when I was in grade 9, so I was 14. A lot of our conversations would happen over MSN, which was like a chatting app. How would I even explain that? Like just a program that you would go on and you would talk to somebody online. Like, what do you call that? A chatting app, that's what I would call it, but I sound like 90 years old when I say that. And so that was like the majority of our conversations happened over MSN, and whenever we would fight, he would start to threaten suicide immediately. That was one thing that he started to do. When we would fight, he would request to turn on our webcams, and I would be like crying because we were fighting with each other, and he would sit there and say like really awful things to me to make me feel bad about myself, I guess. Like say that I was a bad girlfriend and shit, and that if we broke up that he was gonna kill himself, and then we would fight a little more. And then this happened multiple times, and this is what I mean when I say like it was really manipulative, not just like the threatening to kill himself stuff, but he would literally, he was on webcam, pretend to hang himself. Because he had a bed behind him, he would take something and wrap it around his neck and pretend to hang himself on camera. The first time that it happened, I lost it. I was freaking out. I was trying to get a hold of anybody that could see if it was real. At that point, like, I hadn't met like his mom or anything. I didn't know how, like, to call his house. So I just, like, I was freaking out watching him happen, like watching him do it, and he always had something over his face, so I'm sure that he was like partially watching me freak out and like having a laugh about it or something. But this happened multiple times, and after probably the 4th or 5th time, I would honestly end the call, like end the video call, and then just wait to talk to him later. First of all, after the first few times, I realized that he was just doing it to guilt trip me and to make me feel fucking horrible, so that, you know, we wouldn't break up, or so that we would, like, I would stop fighting with him, and it would be literally just to make me feel like shit. Which it worked the first few times. It worked. I felt awful, but I guess I kind of realized I was being manipulated in that way, so after a while, I just would end the call and I would walk away and we would come back and talk later. That would literally cause us to break up, is when he would do that. I'd be like, hey, we're done. Like, if you're gonna be like that, we're not gonna be together. So I would break things off. And he would, like, always try to guilt trip me into not breaking up with him by saying that he did it because he loves me so much and that, like, he knows we're meant to be together, and which doesn't make any sense. In my 14-year-old mind, knew it didn't make sense, but at the same time, I had genuine feelings for this kid, and so a lot of the time it worked. The guilt tripping worked, and I wouldn't break up with him. So grade 10 comes around, and for the first time ever, we went to the same school, other than like an elementary school. So when school started, that's when we started dating again. I don't even know, like, the timeline between times that we dated, guys. Like, it was on and off so often that I have no idea what the timeline was. But at the beginning of my 10th grade, we were dating. And honestly, it was like the same shit, different year. There was, like, more, like, affection, I guess, between us because we were at the same school, so we hung out a lot more. We would write notes to each other every single day. Like, we'd pass it back and forth, like 8-page long, where, like, we'd see each other at lunch and pass each other another note, and then we'd write a whole other 8 pages. We literally talked about, like, getting married one day because, you know, we're obviously meant to be together at age 15. I would try really hard to get him to do well in school. Like, I even talked to his teachers, which sounds like so momish of me, just like going to talk to the teachers about him. But he would skip off and be a shithead. The thing that ended our relationship at that point was that I heard he was flirting with one of his ex-girlfriends and was seen, like, walking with her, like, in the hallway and, like, hugging her. And so, being a 15-year-old jealous girl, I went up to him at lunch and I broke up with him. Another thing that he did during our breakups is he would say, like, awful things to me. He would call me a bitch. He would say I was fat. He would basically just, like, rip apart me entirely as a person and just to, like, tear me down and make me feel like crap. I don't think we dated, like, the entire time I was in grade 11 until the end of grade 11. He started talking to me and I stupidly started falling for him again. I know you guys are probably thinking, like, why? Why would you go back to him after he does this stuff? Why would you go back to him after he, you know, went on webcam and pretended to kill himself? Why would you go back to him after he called you these things? I don't know how to explain to you the cycle of abuse. A lot of the times when you're in these relationships or in these situations, they manipulate you to believe that you don't deserve more than them. So you don't think you're gonna get better than them, so anytime that they come back to you, you're like, well, I'm not gonna get any better. Another thing is that, like, I felt manipulated into, I don't know how to explain it. Anyways, he reached out, we had a really long talk, and he would, like, tell me about his crazy ex all the time, which I'm now believing that she wasn't crazy whatsoever and it was all just bullshit from him, especially because I read this one quote and it was like, a woman is made to look crazy by the man who led her there. And I was like, Anyways, while he was calling her crazy, he was also hanging out with her at school and walking around with her, holding her hand and stuff, so I didn't really know what to believe necessarily. That summer, he told me that things were completely over with her and he wanted me back, so we decided to meet up to talk. Again, we met up at the park. I lied to my mom and I told her that I was at my best friend Lauren's because at that point my mom would not want me to go hang out with a boy at a park. We talked a bit and he promised that he wasn't with her anymore, and then he started kissing me, so I started kissing him back. I don't know how to explain this, but at the back of this elementary school that the park is in, there's like these like cubby kind of things. Like, I don't, like where the windows of the classroom are, there's also like walls that come out, but he like backed me up into there, and then we were kissing in there, and he kind of backed me up into a corner so that I was stuck and I couldn't really move or anything. And while he was kissing me, he started to put his hand down the back of my pants, and I like grabbed his hand and I was like, whoa, like, what are you doing? No thank you. That's obviously not what I said. I wasn't like, no thank you. I should have, but I was like, whoa, like, what are you doing? And I was like, please don't go. And I like told him, I was like, don't go any further, like, I don't want to do that. And so he told me that if I loved him, then I would let him, because he loves me, so that's why he wants to. And because he loves me, then I should let him. And he kept trying to go further down, even when I was saying no, and eventually he moved his hand around to the front of my pants, and he kept going further, and he wouldn't stop when I was telling him to stop. Thankfully, my mom saved the day. This is gonna sound, that sounds weird, but my mom's intuition kind of kicked in, and she realized that I was lying. She called Lauren's house and demanded to know where I was. Lauren told her right away. She literally drove up right to where we were, opened the window and said, well, I don't know exactly the words she said, but it was probably something like, get in the car. I pushed him away and I ran inside the car, and I was grounded that night. I never told my mom what happened. Actually, I told her like less than a year ago, but I never told her what happened. I accepted my grounding as a punishment, and part of it honestly was that I didn't want him to ask to see me and me not have an excuse, and yet I still dated him again afterwards. Like a month later, I started dating him again because he insisted he loved me. And for some reason, I never brought up the issue in the park again. I just kind of let it go. I literally dated a boy after he sexually assaulted me. But the time that we dated after that, it felt really different, honestly. We were a lot closer. We actually like met each other's families. Like, we went to each other's houses all the time. It wasn't just like a through text or through MSN relationship anymore, or like even just hanging out at the park anymore. Like, we didn't do that. We went to each other's houses now. I spent time with his mom. It felt like more of a grown-up relationship, or at least the most grown-up a relationship can be when you're 17, I guess. So for the first bit, like, was great. We were like, this is gonna be weird saying this, but we were like really intimate, and like we spent time with each other's friends too. That's another thing. Like, I would be at his house and his friends would be over. He would be at my house and my friends would be over. It was like a regular relationship. But then obviously the fighting would start up again. He would like fake cry to manipulate me into doing things for him, or like just to make me feel bad. I remember specifically one night we were literally like cuddling in his bed, and I don't know what he asked me, but something I said was like, oh my god, I genuinely can't even remember. All I remember is his reaction, because he was like, are you calling me fat? And then he'd like pretend to cry, like not even like like crying, just like really whiny and like loud enough so that like his mom would hear and like come upstairs. And he even said like, I'm gonna do it so loud that my mom's gonna come up and like ask you what you did. And I don't know. I don't understand what his motive was. I don't understand why he did it, or like I don't know why he did that whatsoever. But in the moment I was like, oh my god, stop. Like, this is so embarrassing. Like, please stop. If your mom walks up and like you're sitting here like fake crying and like you tell her that I like called you fat or something, like that's gonna be horrible. Like, I obviously didn't call the guy fat, but see, this is what I mean. Like, I don't know. I don't understand what any of it meant. I don't know why it was happening. All I knew was that like he was making me feel like shit. One night during us dating, mind you, this was like literally my last year of high school and everything. I don't know why I forgot to include that there. Like, this was my last year of high school. Me and my friend, I'm gonna call her Maggie. we went to go hang out with him and his friends. Like, we were messaging them on MSN, again, MSN, asking them what they were doing. They said they were drinking. We're like, ooh, that sounds like fun. And so his friend invited us over there. And so we're like, ooh, okay. So we went to go hang out with them. They were drinking, we weren't. He was inebriated. Like, the second I showed up, I knew he was so beyond drunk. We were out for a walk. We'd been walking around for a while, and everyone was up ahead and me and him were behind because he was drunk and he was like stumbling all over the place. And he was acting kind of stupid. Like, he was purposely acting more drunk than he was. I swear to you that he was acting way more drunk than he was. He'd be like, hey baby, what are you doing? And I'm just like, oh my god, stop. So I told him to stop acting like that. I'd grab his hand. I started walking towards everyone else and I said, we need to catch up to everybody. He tore his hand away and he told me no. And I told him that we had to, and if he didn't want to come, then I was just gonna go on without him. And that I would leave him there, he would be on his own to find his way back. Like, I didn't care anymore. He started yelling at me, telling me that I couldn't, and then I told him that we had to go. And then he proceeded by pushing me into a fence. And at that point, like, I was in shock. I, first of all, never had any boy lay their hands on me other than, like, when I used to fight boys when I was a kid. I was literally in shock. I just sat there, like, on the ground, like, what just happened? I couldn't even, like, compute it, so much so that I just stood up, looked at him, and walked away. I walked toward my friend, and I was just walking with her the rest of the night. I wouldn't go near him. He would keep coming up to me and trying to apologize and said that he was sorry. And at that point, like, he was completely, like, acting normal. He wasn't acting like a total drunk idiot anymore. I would just ignore him. At the end of the night, I told him goodnight. I told him I would talk to him later, kissed him goodbye, and that was that. We literally never talked about that again, either. We also had a pregnancy scare during this relationship, and he lost his shit on me. He literally made a comment at one point about, like, throwing me down the stairs. It was just awful. It was horrible. He also made a comment about, like, how it couldn't be his. Meanwhile, the only person I had ever had sex with was him. The last day that we dated, we went to a show, like a band show in my town, downtown. It's super sketchy, but it was a show that my cousin had, like, set up and everything. She used to do that a lot, actually. She knew all these really cool bands and would set up the shows in my town, and I would go and watch them. It was a lot of fun, actually. Like, such good bands showed up. Like, there's bands there that you may know one of them. One of the one band that I am thinking of that you guys may know is Set It Off. I used to play marbles with them in the parking lot. Tons of fun. Anyway, we were waiting for everything to start. Like, it was like 5 p.m., 6 p.m., like, not dark enough or, like, late enough for the show to actually start. We were just inside waiting. We were talking. I think I, like, turned my back for a second to talk to my cousin, and then when I turned back, he was just gone. So I'm looking around the building. He's nowhere to be found. I decide to go outside, and I turn when I get out the door, and I see him, like, halfway down the street. And so I called out to him, like, Luke, and he's still walking away. Started running after him a little bit, being like, Luke, where are you going? And he won't answer. Like, he is ignoring me, like, blatantly. Like, so much so that I'm walking behind him asking him, and he is not answering me. So because I'm an emotional person and I'm frustrated, I started crying. I ask again, and he turns and he starts laughing at me. He just looks at me and laughs at me. He, like, pushes me off of him, and he's like, you know why. And then he went home. Just to let you guys know, I did not know why. I was so beyond confused. And this was never explained to me, so I still don't really know why he left, but he left. Thankfully, my cousin was at the show, and thankfully I knew people at the show, and I had, like, already hung out with the band. I spent the night with everybody else. Didn't worry about him whatsoever. He ignored me for probably, like, 5 or 6 days, and then finally decided to admit to me that we were broken up. Wow, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Once that happened, I would walk past him at school. Please note that this happened in September. Like, we broke up in September. This was my last year of high school. I would walk past him, and every day for 8 months in the hallway, he would yell things at me. He threw things at me at some point. He would whisper while I walked by. The worst was the fact that he was yelling things at me, though. He would call me a slut. He would say that I was fat, that I was a whore. Which those 3 things, like, really confused me. Like, the fat thing doesn't confuse me. I understand, like, I was a little chunky. Well, no, I don't understand, because I wasn't fat and he was a piece of shit for calling me that. But like calling me a slut and a whore and a hoe didn't make any sense, because I literally had only ever been with him. He also used to like yell fat ass. He'd get his friends to laugh at me and all this other stupid shit. It was just like him and like 2 of his bandmates that would hang out by his locker, and he would yell things at me. One day I went to give him a necklace that he had bought me for my birthday back to him, which I don't understand why if you buy someone jewelry you would want the jewelry back. Like, you're not gonna wear it, so I don't really understand that. So I go up to him and I like put my hand out and I said, here's the necklace. Then he like ignored me. He kept talking to his friends, and I was like, Luke, here's the necklace. Like, in his face, like, here's the necklace. And he like laughed and like looked away. So I took the necklace and I threw it in his locker. And then he called me a bitch. He literally yelled at me every single day. There was not a time that he wouldn't yell at me. And he would just like yell the worst things at me. He would message me on MSN and Facebook all the time to, again, call me those exact same things. He would literally shame my body in any way that he could, especially like things that he knew would bother me, like specific things about my body. One sentence that he used once was, go call Jenny Craig, you're not gonna get anybody else because you're fat, things like that. He also accused me of losing my virginity to somebody else, which makes no sense. Like, why would I ever lie to you about that? You know what I mean? Like, I would never lie to somebody about who I lost my virginity to. I was literally in the guidance counselor's office every single day, most days crying because of what he would say to me. I spent already a lot of time in the guidance counselor's office. My guidance counselor in high school, her name was Miss Green. She was like my savior. She was like an angel. I also dealt with bullying in high school, and there was a lot of things that happened, like so much so that I had to speak to a social worker every single week to have like counseling. I eventually blocked him. A lot of the times he would somehow like make a new Facebook account and like find ways to message me. Same old, same old. He would also message my best friend, Lauren, to get her to say stuff to me, and she would defend me. Literally, my last week of school, I think he called me a slut, and I went to charge him, like charge him. And Lauren and the friend that I was talking about earlier, I think I called her Maggie, they both stopped me. Lauren looked me dead in the eyes and is like, you are not getting suspended on your last week of high school. Thank you, Lauren, because I'm glad I didn't get suspended on my last week of high school. That would have really sucked. Do I wish that I got the chance to punch him in the face? Absolutely. After high school, we didn't really have any contact for probably about like a year and a half. He then got a new phone, and he texted me from that new phone asking me to meet up with him. He was like apologizing for his past behaviors. He's like, I know I did you wrong. I know I treated you like shit. I know I shouldn't have broken up with you like that. I never should have called you fat. I never should have called you a slut. All this other stuff. Please note, at this time, I was house sitting for Lauren's family while they were on a cruise. And it was like 11:30 at night. The second I got a text from him, and I was beyond emotional. I was crying immediately. For some reason, I decided to meet up with him. It was just like everything in his text made me feel bad for him. I felt bad that he felt horrible. And so I decided to meet him. He drove up in front of her house, got out of his truck, and I went outside to meet him. I'm pretty sure it was fake, but he was like crying, telling me he felt horrible about everything he did, and so I started crying, especially like how I explained to him like everything that he did would fuck me up forever. Like, that's what I said. I said, like, everything you did to me is going to fuck me up forever. And then he kissed me. I guess he kind of got the idea that we were gonna get back together once like I left, because a couple of days later he messaged me and asked if we were getting back together, and I said no, and then he told me that I was fucking awful for giving him the idea that we were, and went back to the fat shaming and the slut shaming. Well, not even slut shaming, because I wasn't a slut. I didn't do anything. After that, I cut all ties with him. The only time I've heard from him since then is because I was helping somebody after after he abused them. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I am not going to go any more into it because there's a lot of stuff that happened after that that doesn't like directly correlate me and him. That's just so messy. So messy. Oh my god. The worst part is that I see him at my job sometimes now and I'm like, oh my god, why are you here? The first time I saw him, I actually went into a panic attack and I had to go into an office because I thought that I was just never going to see him again. Because in my city, for some reason, if you break up with someone, like, you never see them again. It's like that. It's small, but it's big enough that you don't run into your exes, which is a really great thing. And that's actually one really great thing that I'm so thankful that I last relationship I was in was long distance, because I will never see that person again. Thank God. But I never thought I would see him again, and now I see him like every month or two. But yeah, that first time I saw him sent me into a full-blown panic attack. So when I told him that what he did would fuck me up forever, 100% true. I didn't really know it at the time when I said it, but it's 100% true. Because of the way that he spoke about my body, like my last boyfriend, he asked me like, why are you letting some shitty person who treated you like that, why are you letting like what they said about you affect you? And it's the fact that like I thought that I was so in love with this person and that they loved me, and the fact that they would speak about me like that, that it must be true. Since then, my confidence in my body, any sort of like self-esteem or like feeling like I'm like a really good person is shot. I need a sip of coffee. I haven't taken a sip of coffee this entire time. Maybe that's why I'm feeling like anxious, like anxiety attack anxious. Or maybe it's because I'm talking about this. And like for a long time I thought that it didn't bother me and that like it didn't affect me. But anytime someone's like, why do you think you're fat? The first thing that I think of is him. And it sucks. Like, I don't want to feel like this about myself, which is like, I've come a really long way from what I was, like, trust me. A lot of like my confidence coming back has been from me like losing weight, which it sucks that I felt so poorly about myself. And like the only way that I started to feel good was that I was like changing my body. But it has helped. This is where like it gets complicated and I don't really know what to say. I don't want to say anything wrong. Like I have come a long way in terms of my confidence. Like him calling me a slut and stuff, that never bothered me because I knew that I wasn't. It was more like the body shaming and the fact that I trusted somebody so much. They were like the first person that I allowed them to see me like fully naked, which like not something that I do and not something that I'm comfortable with, let me tell you. That he would like turn around and say those things about me is like that is what screwed me up. And so I guess I kind of have like a fear that, man, if this person who loved me, first of all, if you love somebody, you would never do things like that to them. But if this person loved me and they're willing to say these things about me, like, oh my god, what about people who don't love me, who have like no obligation to like tell me nice things or anything like that? Like, what are they really thinking? I'm babbling. So from this relationship, I did learn a lot of good, valuable things. I learned some like warning signs. I learned not to take that kind of shit from anybody. You know the Thank You Next song from Ariana Grande? I definitely did learn things from that relationship. But it also did cause a lot of drama. From talking to people, like just what they've said to me and what they've told me that they think is going on, and from reading things online. Like, I haven't like professionally talked to anybody about this, but I have been told that they think, oh god, I heard a noise, it was so scary. There's people that have told me that they think I have like PTSD from all of this, which wouldn't really surprise me. I am all over the place. This is what it's like having an anxiety attack when trying to film. Wow. I can't think properly. I guess the bottom line is that I want you guys to take from this, just like, don't do what I did. Don't just accept shitty treatment because you think you love somebody or they're supposed to love you. Like, don't accept shitty treatment, because no matter what, you deserve more than what I received. No matter what. I also just want anybody who's going through the same thing as I did out there, that you are not alone in any sort of way. If you need help or need somebody to talk to, I am 100% here. I don't really know what else to say. I am 100% mid-panic attack right now. Probably not a good idea for me to keep filming. So I'm gonna go. That's my story. There's a lot more, and like, it may not seem like a lot, but just the fact that it happened for 4 years and I kept accepting the treatment that I was receiving is just like, it was a lot. And for it to be like my first like serious relationship kind of screwed me up. I'm just sitting here silently. I've been sitting here for like 2 minutes just like thinking, get my heart rate back to a regular level. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I'm not gonna say I hope that you enjoyed this video, because it's kind of a weird thing to ask, you know? Thank you for giving me time to share my story. If any of you guys watched this whole thing, bless your heart. It's a long one. I know I've been recording for an hour now. Yeah. I love you guys. I'm gonna be okay. Like, I'm gonna be fine. I already got through it. It's just working past the stuff afterwards. That's really the most difficult part. I love you guys. And I will see you on my next video, which I promise will be 100 times happier than this. I might film it right after this because I need something to cheer me right up and to calm down. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.